What's your tip for a link naming convention and in general for not getting lost with all varieties of links and how to know which should be used to get which data, current or historical? Now, there's two aspects here. It is my opinion. One is how do we name a link in general? Let's say you have a transaction link. Customer goes into a store and buys some products. So there's a relationship between three hubs, customer or three business keys: customer number, store number, and product number. So now you have the choice. You can name this either customer, store, and product link, or you call it transaction link or business transaction, retail transaction link or something. At Scalefree, we leave this open, to be honest. So we have both options, but we prefer using more business-driven names. So I would call this a retail transaction link, for example. That's how I would call it, because if it's a retail transaction, call it like this, right? Don't call it a customer, store, product link or something. That's a bit weird in my opinion. So except if you can't really make up a business name for that, if you don't have a business name, if it's really the relationship between a customer and the store, could be the case, then call it customer store link essentially. And the order, what comes first, customer or store, right? Sometimes you have some direction, so we would prefer that one essentially. Is there a business relationship somehow? Well, be aware, in Data Vault, links are always end-to-end links, and there's no direction or something, right? But there might be some direction from your business, and then we use that, for example. Give an example. In some tools, when you have a hierarchy, let's say, and you have an organization, and you have a industry body or something, and organizations belong to an industry body. I prefer going from the highest level all the way to the lowest level, essentially. That's my preference. Coming from the root all the way to the leaf. And which means I would use industry body underscore, maybe, industry body organization, that order. Because the industry body is above the organization, essentially. That's the basic idea. But yeah, the most important thing is you standardize this, right? So you come with a standards document where you provide some of these reasonings, how to name your links, essentially. And again, at Scalefree, we left it open. So we leave it to the developers to decide on a name with the preference for more business-driven names, essentially. That's the basic idea. But again, if you don't have that, then for certain links, then we also go for these combinations of hub names, essentially, or the concepts that you combine. So that's number one. That's the general naming convention for links. Now, on top of that, we use some naming conventions where we indicate the type of link, because there's a good number of links, right? We have standard links, but also we have the standard link is in raw data vault, but then we also have the business link or the exploration link in the business vault. In the raw data vault, it's called link. In the business vault, it's called business link or exploration link. Then we have the non-historized link, which is both in the raw data vault and business vault, called just non-historized link, also known as the transaction link in Data Vault 1.0. Then we have the hierarchical link in both environments. In raw data vault and business vault, we have hierarchical links, same as links, which might be also in both environments, or by both schemas, better to say. Then we have something like, what else? Exploration link. A computed aggregate link. If you want to reuse a aggregation for multiple bridge tables, for example, you can use a computed aggregate link. Did I forget anything? Link. Maybe there's more. Oh yeah, depend child link, right? We have the non-historized link and the depend child link. Again, in both schemas. And now I believe I have everything. I hope so, at least. So a good number of links. But they're all types of links, right? So they're all links. And in the book, between me and Dan, we used a prefix, link underscore business transaction or something, right? We don't do that in projects. We actually prefer suffixes or postfixes, because then you have an order. Especially for satellites attached to a parent, you group the hub and the satellites all together. Think about this: customer underscore hub or underscore H is the customer hub. And then you have a satellite attached to the customer hub, which would be then called customer data satellite S, right? So everything starts with customer, just like a parent, and then everything's grouped together that belongs together, essentially. That's the basic idea. And so that's why we prefer suffixes instead of prefixes. Now, and then we also like patterns here. So which means that we prefer using a short pattern. Think about this for links now. The suffix is L or link, one way or the other, but we prefer links, L. So, sorry, we prefer Ls. And but then there's different types of links, non-hysterized links. So a link always ends with L, but then if it's a special entity type, we add one more character, only one. So for non-hysterized links, we add N. NL is a non-hysterized link, if that's your suffix. Then we have something like I don't want to go for BL yet. Then we have something like hierarchical link, HL, SL for sameness link, DL for dependent child link, and so on, right? So we use only one character to indicate the type of link that comes before the L. And then if it's a link in the business vault, we also add a B. So BL is a link in the business vault, and just L is a link in the raw data vault. We omit the R essentially. And then if you have a special type of link, let's say a dependent child link in the business vault, it's BDL. Business vault, dependent child link, and a link essentially. That's the idea. So we use these abbreviations. And why do we, I mean, you could argue if it's maybe too short for your business users, okay, fine. We use those abbreviations because then we can essentially use regular expressions on the metadata to identify quickly what type of link is this, and then also apply tests, for example. Do we have all the required columns, for example, or required attributes on the dependent child link? There should be hub references, there should be a hash key, a record source. There should be something like a dependent child, for example, and so on, right? So we can apply checks on the metadata and quickly can find out based on regular expressions what kind of link is this, when do we want to apply this pattern matching, essentially. That's the basic idea. So that's the advantage of having only single characters for the different types of data vault entities, hubs, links, satellites, for different special entity types, N for non-hysterized link, D for dependent child link, and so on, right? That's the idea. And then one more character for the schema if you don't have a schema indicator, like a schema name, right? You could also have the business vault in a different schema, for example. That's the other thing. And that's what we use for the link name. So let's say a link between customer and store, we discussed this, could then be named customer underscore. We use underscores in most databases, and also case insensitive names. So we don't like to quote them all the time, right? So customer underscore store underscore L could be a link in a raw data vault between customer hub and store hub. That's the basic idea. If it's in a business vault, a non-hysterized link, it could be a let's say retail transaction underscore BNL. That would be a non-hysterized link in a business vault, if that's the case. So that's how we name it typically. That's what our naming conventions are essentially doing, essentially. So let me just review the question again. What's a tip for a link name convention in general for not getting lost with all the varieties of links? Yeah, that's how we do it, right? So we know exactly in the link name what type of link is this and how do I need to use this now. And that's what you need to teach your users then down the road, how they identify these different link types and what's the difference and how they use that during query times, essentially. That's the basic idea. And which should be used to get which data, current or historical. Okay, so this was the second part here. So which link should be used to get which data, current or historical? So first of all, any data vault entity in data vault is providing you historical data. Maybe not standalone, but together in combination with a effectivity satellite, for example. So if you have changing relationships between customers and stores, maybe you have a, I don't know, preferred store for a customer or something, right? Which I would then call preferred store link. If that's the case, if the relationship can change, which you typically have this scenario, the link itself only tells you which relationships ever existed during the lifetime of your, I'm not sure if I'm still there, during the lifetime of your data warehouse, which means that so you have the link doesn't tell you if this relationship is still active. What you need is a effectivity satellite to tell you if the relationship has been removed or deleted already. That's a deletion indicator, maybe a deletion flag inside the link structure itself. That's what we typically use. So that's the basic idea. In the non-hysterized link, don't get confused by the name. You can also store history, for example, like older business transactions, and also changing business transactions. We can capture them in the non-history link as well. There's no limitation on that in that regard. Yeah, there's a concept called technical counter transactions. If you want to deal with this, these changing business transactions, essentially. So all these links capture changing or historical data, maybe in combination with some other entity. When do you use what? I would say it like this: in Data Vault, or in your data actually, there's two types of relationships. There's one type of relationship where you have a relationship over time, let's say, where you as a customer are assigned to a store, where you as an employee, you work for a while for a employer. But then you have also these relationships that happens at a certain point in time. When a customer walks into the store, purchases a product, at the time of purchase, that's when you have essentially this relationship between the customer, the store, and the product, essentially. And that's what happens at events, or when we have real-time messages sending you some facts about something. That's true for this message, essentially, but you get all the time all these messages, essentially, right? So it's the non-history link is more for I would say for a point in time, while the standard link is a relationship that consists for a while. And that's a big difference. So the relationships we capture in links, maybe some special type like a hierarchical link or a same-as link or something. And while these transactions, events, and messages, we capture non-historized links and depend child links. Depend child is also an invoice, for example, invoice line item. It's also a special construct where we capture essentially, the descriptions of invoices, essentially, invoice line items, essentially, also for a certain event. On November 26th, we have a meeting on site in Hanover at the conference, at the hotel, essentially, where we have the data Dreamland of Scalefree. If you don't have your ticket yet, check out this QR code. Check out our website, scalefree.com, where you also find at events, you find a page for the conference as well. I hope to see you next Friday. Have a nice weekend.